Per reports, Aaron Rodgers is the reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers trade away George Pickens this offseason to the Dallas Cowboys. They knew that Aaron Rodgers would not like and not hit it off with George Pickens, so decided to get rid of him before it became an issue. But first, before I get more into that report, however, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also like this video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, ESPN was talking about the reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers trade away George Pickens this offseason, and Jeremy Fowler brought up the point that it's because of Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers didn't like the fit with him and A-Rod, so they decided to get rid of George Pickens before it became an issue on the field and off the field. So here's his quote on that. Staying with Pittsburgh related matters, the Steelers moved on from Pickens for a few reasons. His maturity issues were well known within Pittsburgh's locker room and front office, so the Steelers made the evaluation that Pickens and Rodgers would not hit it off. End quote. So, that's a little bit harsh. You're basically saying that the reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers traded away George Pickens was because George Pickens would not get along with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers wouldn't take any of George Pickens-ish on the football field and off of it. So they would not hit it off because of that. They would not like each other, and they traded away because they made the decision that A-Rod is better for this team than George. So that's basically what he's saying in his report. And you could kind of agree with him because former Steelers wide receiver George Pickens was a massive distraction on and off the field through his 3 years in Pittsburgh. While he is so talented, the Steelers kind of had enough of his antics. That's why they traded away George Pickens and a 2027 6th-round pick to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 3rd-rounder and 2027 5th-rounder early this offseason. So that's kind of the reason. And to be honest, you could agree with it. Because in 2023, Pickens was fined over $200,000 between the NFL and the Steelers for incidents, including reported serial tardiness to team practices and meetings. And in 2024, he received over $80,000 in fines from the NFL for his on-the-field behavior, including unnecessary roughnesses, unsportsmanlike conduct, 2 fights after the end of a loss, a message on his eye black, and got into a sideline spat with fans as well. So he was late also to multiple occasions and team practices, meetings, whatever, also in 2024. So the Steelers obviously saw that and saw that Rodgers is well known to be hard on his receivers, especially his wide receivers, and that was the case last season when he threw Mike Williams under the bus. He called out Williams for running the wrong route as he should have ran the red line. So Pickens probably wouldn't have been able to handle Aaron Rodgers' personality, or so the Pittsburgh Steelers thought that, and vice versa. Because Aaron Rodgers probably wouldn't be able to handle George Pickens either. So Pickens showing up late to meetings and games probably wouldn't sit well with the 4-time NFL MVP that the Steelers were looking to bring in A-Rod. So Rodgers decided that he probably didn't want him. The Steelers decided that George Pickens probably wouldn't fit this team anymore because of the quarterback they're about to bring in, and decided to trade him. And that's basically what Jeremy Fowler said in his report. And this is just all the background information of why he may be correct in that matter. So Rodgers will now be throwing passes to DK Metcalf, and it would certainly have been good to see George Pickens as well, being a player that A-Rod would have thrown passes to, 2 dynamic wide receivers, number 1 wide receivers on this team. But it's clear that Pickens' time in the Steel City ran its course, and Pickens had kind of a big personality. And putting him next to a big personality with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf probably wouldn't have meshed well together. You can only have so many big personalities on a football team before they start to collide. And that's what happened with Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and things of that nature, like towards their tenure as well. So they decide to trade George Pickens before it even happens, before any on the field or off the field distractions happen. Going back to off the field things, George Pickens was always on his coaches, always on the quarterback about throw me the ball, I want the ball, and things of that nature. And if he goes up to A-Rod and says that to him, he'd probably piss him off, and A-Rod probably would not want him on the team anymore, and that would be a distraction off the field or on the field thing and in the locker room. So A-Rod is not going to take that kind of BS from George where he's demanding the football. And also, George Pickens is a player who, if he's not getting the football, he's lazy on his routes. He's lazy on basically everything he's doing on the football field, not going 100%. And we know A-Rod is going to get on you for that. A-Rod got on Mike Williams for that. So he's going to get on George Pickens for being lazy on the football field. He's going to call no interviews, and then George Pickens is going to get pissed, and then it's going to be a back and forth thing. So that you could kind of understand where Jeremy Fowler is coming from on this point, and why the Steelers did decide to trade him away if that's the problem, because you could see it building up. You could just see it before it even happens, to be honest. So in reality, even though we would love to see George Pickens with A-Rod, you could see why the Steelers decided to make that trade before anything even happened. So, however, George Pickens has always been one of my favorite players on this team on offense, alongside Calvin Austin. So it's sad to see him go. It's sad to see him gone after only 3 years with this team. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, they got a third-round draft pick back. They're stacking up draft picks for this next year's NFL draft, which is in Pittsburgh. So hopefully they make a move to better this team. And by George Pickens, hope for the best with you in Dallas. Because just because he's traded doesn't mean I don't want him to succeed with another team. So hopefully he does really well in Dallas and proves the Steelers wrong, that they shouldn't have traded him away. And fixes his whole attitude and everything, and changes the personality issues that people see in him. Anyway, that's the end of that topic. But now let me get into another topic. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't sign Jaire Alexander. Baltimore Ravens did. And the Steelers have always been interested in Jaire. Ever since he was on Packers and his name was being brought up in trade rumors, the Steelers are always the team that was rumored, hey, they're going to trade for Jaire Alexander. And they're going to give up some draft picks for him. But they didn't. And then he was released by the Green Bay Packers. And once again, because he was a free agent, the Steelers were in the mix. The Steelers were a team that was brought up about signing him. Even though they had two outside cornerbacks already in Joey Porter Jr. and Darius Slay, they're still in the mix for him, or in the rumors at least. But he decided not to sign with the Steelers, not to sign with any team, but actually sign with the divisional rival of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens. And it's a very cheap deal. We expected it to be higher, but it was a 1-year, $4 million deal with $2 million extra in incentives to go to a max total of $6 million if he hits everything. So that's a really cheap deal for a superstar lockdown cornerback in his past. He was injured the last 2 seasons, playing only 70 games in each season, but he's still a really good cornerback when he's healthy, and that's a bargain of a deal for the divisional rival, the Baltimore Ravens. And one of the reasons why he signed there is probably because they're contenders, even though the Ravens really always choke in the playoffs. Apparently they're still seen as contenders because of Lamar Jackson and things of that nature. So he took the bargain of the deal. He took a cheap deal with the Baltimore Ravens because of that. And the divisional rival gets him, not the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are also kind of in the rumors for Jaylen Ramsey. Maybe they decided, hey, this won't be a good fit for us, having another outside cornerback. We like where our group is now. Maybe they go and target Jaylen Ramsey instead. Or maybe they just lost out on the bidding war against the Baltimore Ravens for the cornerback. It would have been nice to add, obviously, Jaire Alexander to this team, because Darius Slay is, 36 years old. He's retiring after the season, so you're only going to have him for 1 more year. But Jaire is only still 28, late 20s, so he can still be a player to play in this league for a while, compared to who you just signed this offseason for a $10 million contract, fully guaranteed in Darius Slay. So it would have been nice to sign him, but we didn't. We missed out on him, and the Ravens got him instead. So the Ravens have a really good cornerback group now. Now they get to stick and play Marlon Humphrey at the slot position in which he's more comfortable at. So the Ravens are building a really good team. But once again, the Pittsburgh Steelers are always in the mix, and they probably should have won the AFC North last season, to be honest, but choked at the end of the year. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Just want to kind of update you on that and how that was going, and the Steelers missing out on that player. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on both topics of this video. About the Steelers trading away George Pickens allegedly because of Aaron Rodgers and them not seeing them hitting it off if they were actually on the same team, so they decided to get rid of him before A-Rod was even here. Do you think that's true? Do you think it's not true? And do you think that's the right decision? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And also, how do you feel about Jaire Alexander signing with our arch nemesis, the divisional rival, the Baltimore Ravens, instead of us, even though we liked him as a player and were in the rumors for him? Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis, reports. Everything surrounding this team, I've covered it this offseason, and I'll continue covering it as the offseason goes along, with all camp highlights and analysis as we head into training camp shortly, and more rumors and news and updates as well. Stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe, turn notifications for this channel. And until next time, until the next video, I'll see you guys all later. That's it for me. I'm out. Peace.